Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I want you to pause for a few minutes because what I am about to share may change the way you move, the way you feel, and the way you live from this point forward. Here's something many people never hear clearly enough. Your legs are not getting weak only because of age. Very often they are getting weaker because they are not getting the right fuel. That is a huge difference. One idea sounds final, the other opens a door. And today, I want to open that door for you. I am going to walk you through 6 foods, counted from helpful to truly game-changing, that can support leg strength, protect muscle, improve balance, and help you feel more stable again. Before we get into the list, let me tell you something that should make everyone pay attention. A major study on older adults found that people over 65 with serious lower body weakness had a 72% higher risk of mobility problems within 5 years, along with more falls, more hospital stays, more loss of independence, and a higher risk of early death. That number is not small. It is a warning, but it is also a reason to act now, while there is still so much you can improve. And stay with me, because the number one food on this list is something many people already have at home, something some were told to limit, and something top researchers now believe may be one of the strongest foods for protecting muscle after 60. I am saving that one for the end because once you hear why it works, you may never shop for groceries the same way again. Before we start the countdown, I want you to think about your own body for a second. Have your legs been feeling heavier lately? Do stairs feel harder? Do you stand up from a chair and feel that extra effort that was not there years ago? Maybe you have felt shaky. Maybe you have had a close call. Maybe you simply do not trust your balance the way you used to. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. And the good news is that weakness is not always a one-way road. In many cases, the body is still ready to rebuild. It is still ready to respond. It just needs the right signals and the right raw materials. So let's begin with the 6th food, and this one surprises almost everyone: eggs. For years, many people heard the same message again and again. Eggs are bad. Avoid the yolk. Be careful. But for many older adults, that old advice missed the bigger picture. Eggs are one of the most complete foods for muscle support, especially when leg strength is starting to slip. They're packed with a key amino acid called leucine. If that word sounds technical, do not worry. Think of leucine as the switch that tells your body to start repairing and building muscle. As we get older, the muscles do not respond as quickly to protein as they did when we were young. This is often called anabolic resistance. In simple terms, your muscles become harder to wake up. They need a stronger signal. Eggs help give that signal, and that matters more than most people realize. Do not skip this part because the next detail is where eggs become much more powerful than most people expect. 2 large whole eggs give your body a meaningful amount of leucine, enough to help trigger muscle protein building in older adults whose bodies are not reacting as strongly as they once did. But eggs do more than that. The yolk, the part so many people were told to throw away, carries nutrients that matter deeply for aging muscles, including choline, vitamin D, and compounds that help support the outer structure of muscle cells. As the years pass, muscle cells can become more fragile, less efficient, and less able to hold the nutrients they need to contract and recover. The yolk helps protect that system. Throwing it out can mean losing some of the very things your body now needs most. I have seen older adults change their mornings and then notice real differences within weeks. One woman who had already fallen twice had spent years avoiding eggs because she thought that was the healthy choice. When she began eating 3 whole eggs in the morning, her confidence started to return. A couple of months later, she said she was finally going up the stairs without gripping the rails so tightly. That matters. That is not magic. That is nutrition doing its job. For the best effect, 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning can be a smart start, especially with a little healthy fat like avocado or olive oil to help absorb the fat-soluble vitamins. Cook them gently. Do not burn them. Keep it simple. Keep it steady. Because the goal here is not a trendy meal. The goal is stronger tissue, better balance, and more trust in your own legs. Now let's move to the 5th food, and this one is powerful in a completely different way: wild salmon. If your legs feel sore, tired, heavy, or tight when you wake up, there is a chance that low-grade inflammation has been quietly damaging your muscles for years. Inflammation does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It keeps working in the background, slowly wearing down muscle fibers, irritating nerves, and making recovery harder. Wild salmon helps fight that process. It is rich in omega-3 fats, especially EPA and DHA, and these compounds help calm the chemicals that drive chronic inflammation. Think of inflammation like a small fire that never fully goes out. Over time, it damages everything around it. Omega-3 fats help cool that fire. They reduce the compounds that keep the body in a stressed, inflamed state, and that can make a real difference in how muscles feel and recover. Research on older adults has shown that omega-3 intake, similar to eating salmon a few times a week, can increase muscle protein building rates in a meaningful way. That is important. It means salmon does not just calm damage, it may also help your body repair more effectively. And there is more. Salmon is one of the few foods naturally rich in active vitamin D, which becomes especially important later in life because the skin does not make it as easily as we age. Low vitamin D has been strongly linked to muscle weakness, poor balance, and faster muscle loss. So this is not just a fish on a plate. For many people, it is deep nutritional support for strength, stability, and function. A solid serving of wild salmon can provide almost a full day's worth of vitamin D for many older adults, and that is one reason it deserves a place on this list. If possible, choose wild salmon rather than farmed because the fat profile is often better and the anti-inflammatory effect is stronger. 2 to 3 times a week is a good rhythm for many people. Pair it with dark leafy greens, and you create something even better, because these foods support each other. The next food makes that clear. Think about the older people you have seen who still move with grace, who stand up smoothly, who walk with a steady step and do not seem trapped inside stiff legs. There's a good chance dark leafy greens were part of their normal routine. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, arugula. These foods may look simple, but their effect can be serious. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at maintaining nitric oxide, a compound that helps blood flow move where it needs to go. When nitric oxide drops, the tiny blood vessels feeding your leg muscles can become less effective. Oxygen delivery slows down. Nutrients arrive less efficiently. Waste hangs around longer. The result is legs that tire faster and recover more slowly. Leafy greens help because they are rich in natural nitrates, which the body can convert into nitric oxide. In plain language, they help improve the flow. They help open the roads. And when the roads are open, muscles can perform better. Some research suggests muscle efficiency can improve meaningfully with nitrate intake from greens, even without bigger muscles. That is a big point. Sometimes the body does not need more size first. It needs better function. Dark leafy greens also bring magnesium, and this is where many people suddenly understand why their legs have been cramping or tightening at night. Magnesium helps muscles relax. Without enough of it, the muscles can become tense, jumpy, and prone to painful spasms. A large number of older adults do not get enough magnesium from food, and the body pays the price in stiffness, restless legs, tight calves, and poor recovery. 1 cup of cooked spinach can give a major share of what the body needs in a day. That is not a tiny benefit. That is practical help on the plate. I remember hearing from an older man whose legs felt like they were filled with cement every morning. He had tried supplements, but progress was limited. Then he changed the way he ate. He started having cooked greens daily with olive oil and garlic, and after a few weeks, he felt lighter, looser, and more willing to walk again. That is the kind of change people notice in real life. And yes, olive oil matters here too because it helps your body absorb important compounds in the greens. Always give your vegetables a little healthy fat. It makes them work harder for you. If this is already making sense, stay with me because the next food is one many people think of as a light snack when in reality, it can be one of the strongest foods for muscle support later in life. This next one is where things start to get very interesting. And if you are getting value so far, imagine what the final 2 foods can do when they become part of your weekly routine. The third food is full-fat Greek yogurt, and it deserves much more respect than it usually gets. Many people see yogurt as something small, plain, or forgettable, but for older muscles, especially the muscles in the legs, Greek yogurt can be a serious tool. A single cup gives a strong amount of high-quality protein, often around 17 to 20 grams, and that protein contains the branched-chain amino acids your muscles use directly, including leucine, isoleucine, and valine. In simple English, this means the protein is highly usable. It is not just present on the label, it is available for the body to actually use well, and that matters because not all proteins work the same way. Some plant proteins are helpful too, but they may need to be combined carefully to provide a full amino acid pattern. Greek yogurt arrives ready, but what lifts it above many other protein foods is something else entirely, the live cultures. Good Greek yogurt contains helpful bacteria that support the gut, and this matters more than people once believed. Researchers now talk about the gut-muscle connection because the health of the gut affects how well the body breaks down food, absorbs nutrients, manages inflammation, and supports recovery. As we age, the gut often becomes less diverse and less efficient. That means even if you eat good food, your body may not be using it as well as it could. Probiotic-rich foods can help restore that balance. Think of the gut like a team behind the scenes. When the team is weak, the whole show suffers. When the team is strong, everything runs better. Stronger digestion can mean stronger legs. That is not a strange idea anymore. It is becoming one of the most important ideas in healthy aging. If you want to get the most from Greek yogurt, timing can help. Having it within about 30 to 45 minutes after movement, even after a simple walk, can support what many people call the anabolic window, the period when muscles are more ready to use protein for repair. It does not need to be fancy. It can be a bowl of plain full-fat Greek yogurt with a spoon of ground flaxseed or a little honey if you like. Keep it simple. Choose plain versions when possible because many low-fat or flavored options are loaded with sugar, and too much sugar pushes the body back toward the inflammation we're trying to lower. Now we arrive at the second food, and yes, this one catches many people off guard. Beets. Some people smile when they hear that. Some people are doubtful. That is fair. Beets are not the first thing most people think about when they imagine stronger legs. But do not click away mentally here, because the science behind beets and physical performance is surprisingly strong. Beets are packed with natural nitrates, even more concentrated than many leafy greens, and that means they can drive nitric oxide production in a big way. When that happens, blood vessels open more easily, blood flow improves, and working muscles get better delivery of oxygen and nutrients. For aging legs, that is a major advantage. There is even research showing that beet intake before activity may improve blood flow not only to the body, but also to parts of the brain involved in movement control. That means the benefit may not stop at the muscle. It may also help the signal from the brain to the legs. For people worried about balance, coordination, and the split-second control needed to avoid a fall, that matters a lot. Beets also contain betaine, a compound that helps lower homocysteine, a chemical that can rise with age and has been linked to blood vessel damage, muscle decline, and poor energy production. Inside your muscle cells are mitochondria, the tiny power stations that generate energy. When those systems are stressed, muscles feel weak, slow, and drained. Betaine helps support a healthier internal environment, and that can help the muscles work better over time. I have seen older adults who were told their weakness was just age, start making simple food changes, and then surprise themselves a few months later. One woman began eating roasted beets several days a week, along with a short daily walk. After a while, she no longer felt the same need for the cane she had depended on. That kind of moment is powerful. It reminds people that the story is not over. Roast beets rather than boiling them for too long, since long boiling can pull useful nitrates into the water. You can also blend raw beet into a smoothie with a little citrus because vitamin C can help the body convert nitrates more effectively. Pair beets with a good protein source and you have a strong pre-activity meal. And now we come to the final food, the one many people least expect to see at the top. Extra virgin olive oil, not a powder, not a rare herb, not an expensive formula, just real olive oil, used well, used daily, and used with purpose. This is where the whole list comes together, because this food does not only reduce damage, it helps create the conditions for muscle to rebuild. Stay with me for this last part, because it may completely change how you think about fat. Extra virgin olive oil stands apart because it contains powerful plant compounds, especially one that works in a way very similar to common anti-inflammatory medicine. It helps block the same kinds of inflammatory pathways, but it does so as part of a food without the same long-term risks that often come with regular use of pain pills. For older adults who deal with aching joints, sore muscles, and slow recovery, that alone is worth attention. But the real story goes deeper. Long-term research on older adults has found that people who regularly consume generous amounts of extra virgin olive oil have a much lower risk of sarcopenia, the steady loss of muscle mass and strength that often speeds up after 60. That is not a tiny effect. It is one of the strongest food-based signals we have for preserving muscle with age. And one reason may be that the plant compounds in olive oil appear to support the same muscle-building pathway turned on by protein and resistance exercise. In other words, olive oil may help the body become more responsive again. That matters because as we age, the machinery that builds muscle does not stop completely, but it does become less sensitive. Olive oil may help wake that machinery up. Think of it like tuning an old instrument so it can play clearly again. There's another layer too. Extra virgin olive oil contains antioxidants that help protect the mitochondria inside muscle cells from damage. Over time, those power systems collect wear and tear. When they slow down, your muscles feel it. Energy drops, endurance drops, recovery drags. Protecting those systems means protecting movement itself. This is why good olive oil is not just a garnish. For many people, it is daily support for stronger tissue and better function. I once heard about an older man who had spent decades avoiding fat because he thought that was the clean, disciplined thing to do. He ate very lean meals, very little oil, very little richness, and yet his legs kept getting weaker. When he finally added 4 tablespoons of high-quality extra virgin olive oil across the day, over eggs in the morning and vegetables later on, his endurance began to change. First, it was a little more distance, then less stopping, then more confidence. Eventually, he was doing activities again that had felt out of reach. That is what consistent support can do. For practical use, around 4 tablespoons a day is the amount often linked with the best results. Use it as your main cooking fat for gentle heat. Drizzle it over greens, fish, eggs, and beans. Combine it with the very foods on this list because these foods work better together than they do alone. And buy real extra virgin olive oil, preferably in a dark bottle with a clear harvest date if possible. Fresh oil holds more of the compounds that make it valuable. Old oil is not the same story. Now, let me say something clearly. You were not made to become a spectator in your own life. You were not meant to sit out the walk, skip the stairs, avoid the dance, or watch others move while you worry whether your legs will hold. That is not some fixed ending already written into your body. Very often it is the result of years of missing information, missing nutrients, and missing support. The body still wants to rebuild. The body still wants to repair. It is not done with you, not even close. But it needs the right materials, given again and again, meal after meal, day after day. So here's the full picture. Eggs help turn on muscle building. Wild salmon helps calm inflammation and gives vitamin D. Dark leafy greens improve blood flow and bring magnesium. Greek yogurt delivers usable protein and supports the gut-muscle connection. Beets boost nitrate levels and support circulation and control. Extra virgin olive oil lowers inflammation, supports muscle pathways, and protects the energy factories inside your cells. None of these foods are magical on their own, but together they form a system, and systems change lives. That is the difference. One isolated trick rarely saves the day. A steady pattern can. If you begin using these foods regularly, not perfectly, just consistently, you may notice that your legs feel more alive, your steps feel more secure, and your confidence starts to return. And let me be very clear about one final point. It is not too late. Muscle can still respond deep into later life. The body still carries that ability. Science keeps showing it. The repair switch is not gone. It is waiting. Your next meal can become part of the answer. Your next grocery trip can become part of the answer. Even a simple breakfast can become part of the answer. So tell me this, which of these 6 foods are you going to add first? Eggs, salmon, greens, Greek yogurt, beets, olive oil? Pick one and start. Then build from there. And if this message reached you at the right moment, hold on to it. Come back to it. Share it with someone whose legs have been feeling weaker, heavier, or less steady. Because sometimes the first step back to strength begins with something much smaller than people expect. It begins with a plate, a fork, a choice, and the decision to believe that better movement is still possible.